It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Eric has the morning off, me and you. But only for the next hour, and then it's a weekend, and then Sunday night, Monday morning, Eric is back. So, all right, this is interesting here, this story from the Free Beacon. Amid Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration, Washington, D.C. Mayor Bowser is doing an abrupt about-face from her previous views on enforcement, working to repeal a law that bars local police from assisting ICE. Now I have to ask the question, am I delusional at this point? Is that really happening? Bowser is quietly proposing to overturn the sanctuary city law, which prohibits D.C. officials from inquiring about a detainee's immigration status, transferring individuals to ICE, or allowing ICE to interview suspects in local custody without a judicial order, Axios reported. The mayor is asking for the repeal without fanfare. Is that possible? Is there a more Democrat city than D.C.? There may be. I just, to me, just looking at the numbers on elections there, I would have to say if it's not the top Democrat city in the country, if it's not the top liberal city in the country, it's very close to it. So the mayor is asking for a repeal without fanfare. Well, that's going to be tough because you're already asking for it, and it's already getting some fanfare via a tucked-away provision as part of her newly released 2026 budget proposal, according to Axios, which, by the way, is as we know, is a liberal publication. They're on it. The Free Beacon's on it. Fox is on it. We're on it. Apparently, it's going to get fanfare. But according to Axios, which noted that the D.C. Council has final say over what makes it into the budget, and some progressive members may thwart Bowser's push. No blank, Sherlock. Bowser's hawkishness on immigration marks a sharp change from the positions she has held since becoming mayor in 2015. During Trump's first term, she tweeted that D.C. is a proud sanctuary city and that she is committed to protecting the rights of all of our immigrant families in face of what she called Trump's disturbing immigration crackdown. The president should understand that not only are these threats cruel to our American values, they are actually making our communities less safe by sending more residents into hiding. Residents into hiding, a cutoff from resources, support, and opportunity. She said in a June 21st, 2019 statement that was posted on the city's website, that statement has now been removed. Wow. Wow. That's Mayor Bowser in D.C. Well, somebody has to give that a lot of fanfare. We're pro fanfare here on the show. Now, we're anti-murder. We made that clear many years ago. We had to come out. Somebody was asking about something, and we said, well, let's make this clear. On this show, we're anti-murder. But we're pro-fanfare because fanfare means transparency, right? Got a ton of audio cuts with it. We want to play. I want to play this one here. This is Scott Jennings, and this is where the U.S. to aggressively revoke visas of Chinese students. Look, China is an enemy of the United States. We all know it. we've said it many times. When it comes to tariffs and trade, we should treat China completely different than other countries, without question. And we all know that this isn't like quiet. We all know that China wants to infiltrate into the United States with operatives, with spies, any way they can, and universities are one of the ways. Does it mean that every Chinese student is? No, it does not. I go back to, maybe 5 years ago. Maybe it was less than that. They did a survey in liberal Canada when they asked if immigrants to the country and people that came to the country, whether it's as legal immigrants or whether they, came to get, residency, get a visa, whether they should hold Canadian values. And the vast majority of Canadians said yes. That seemed to be non-controversial when it happened. I remember when we talked about it, we were waiting. It was like, okay, is there going to be a blow-up in Canada? I mean, they're going to go crazy? Nobody went crazy. And if you say that here, and we said it at the time, if you said, well, we believe the people that come to this country should have American values, you Nazi nationalist, you. Well, how come that didn't happen in Canada? But Scott Jennings posted this on X, and it says, I do not understand why people believe that we have to continue to take in people from around the world who fundamentally hate the United States and don't stand for anything the things that we stand for. Here it is.
It is obvious to me, and should be obvious to everybody, that China and other foreign countries are sending people here for nefarious purposes. And not only that, they're taking up slots in universities that could be taken up by American students. It's not just China, though. Look at what happened at the Harvard commencement today. You got people up there, again, with the anti-Semitism coming in from foreign countries. I don't understand why people believe that we have to continue to take in people from around the world who fundamentally either despise America, hate America, want to tear down the West, or want to spy on us. We don't have to do this. Thank God Rubio is taking the lead on this, because I think he's the right man for the job. It may not be all of them, but it's going to be some of them, and why not look at it?
Yeah. Is he wrong? No, of course not. All right, I want to play this audio here from Barry Weiss. And she had Jake Tapper on, and they had an interesting conversation, as all the conversations with Jake Tapper, and I think Alex Thompson is also on this one, about the smearing of the right with everything with Biden that ended up being true. Here we go.
Do you think that's true, that it was a cover-up in plain sight?
I think there is something to that, but our reporting, and I think you'll see our reporting, is that, there's a reason why the debate was still so shocking. Like, even to Nelly, who you said was, early on this, right?
Yes.
It was still shocking how bad it had gotten behind the scenes.
It was shocking to the Trump people.
I think two things about it were shocking. One, how bad it was, plain, that's just like the text. But I think the meta text of why it was so shocking was all of the people that were waved off as conspiracy theorist, right-wing fever swamp people were completely right.
We're 100% right.
They were completely right. And the people who, even now, you still hope they're telling the truth, maybe we can trust some of what they say, they were this profoundly wrong. I think that is the deeper layer of the shock.
Definitely, we all should, in retrospect, looking back on it, have been much more quick to label what we saw, what it seemed. But I think there also was, regardless of ideological issues, I think there was also just a reluctance to say he seems addled, he seems like maybe he can't do the job, when you have the entire infrastructure of a political party saying, what are you talking about? he seems fine to us, and we have meetings with him. One of the stories in our in the book is when at the same time, around the same time that Annie Linsky and Siobhan Hughes, these great reporters with the Wall Street Journal, right around the time that they break their story, and are garroted by the Democratic Party and by journalists and by media critics and by journalism professors and this whole industry of people who claim to be nonpartisan assessors of truth, but that I'm sure you, me, and Alex would maybe go through the list and take issue with how much that's true. That was traumatizing for them. I mean, I'm assessing it from my point of view, but that had to have been traumatizing for them. At the same time that they are doing that report, and this is in the book, there's another reporter with a national outlet who is getting the same information. Behind the scenes, he's a mess. He can't answer questions. He's losing train of thought. And Steve Ricchetti, the Biden aide, calls this reporter and basically says, I'm in the meetings. He's great. And the message that this reporter gets is, if you do this story, I'm going to go on the record and say you're a liar. And this is a youngish reporter who didn't feel confident enough to go forward. And I think that probably happened a lot more than we know. I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying that White Houses intimidate people. Reporters are human. Reporters want to be able to have careers. Nobody likes being attacked. I mean, I spent the last, I'm looking at Barry Weiss saying nobody likes to be attacked. It's not pleasant.
The part where they said a lot of people were surprised at the debate of the lack of cognitive abilities of Biden. And then Jake Tapper said, even Trump people were. I guess you can't say all. We here, we weren't around Biden, never met Biden, have never been at a press conference with Biden. Neither has Eric. And we were not shocked at all by what happened at the debate. And if we weren't, we know that tens of millions of Americans also were not. And I'll explain more coming up next. 866-90-RED-EYE.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by Howes Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
A late May, full of stormy weather, and slowed down farmer field work in much of the central and eastern U.S. Yet USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey says,
now it looks like the pattern will be changing. We've got just another system or a system and a half to work through the system before the pattern changes.
So once a midweek system leaves the Atlantic seaboard and a late week storm departs from the Atlantic coast by early this weekend,
we will have had 2 weeks of very wet weather. I think for a lot of producers, it's a short-term annoyance because it's been a mighty struggle to get some of this planting done for corn and soybeans and cotton and other row crops. But in the end, this moisture will come back to be a big benefit as we move into the hotter and likely drier weeks ahead.
That warmer weather in the eastern two-thirds of the nation should develop as soon as early next week as a western heat wave moves along towards the Atlantic coast. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. He's back Sunday night, Monday morning with me. So when I played that audio cut, the reason I played it, it was Barry Weiss and it was Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson who wrote the book, Original Sin. And they were talking about how shocked people were and they were talking about, the media, just everybody, how shocked people were. And then they made the statement that even the Trump people were surprised at his lack of cognitive abilities. And I'm listening to that saying, stop it. The debate was on, make sure I got the date right. The debate was on June 27th, 2024. They agreed to the debate, to a series of 2 debates. I believe it was on March. On May, let me just get it, make sure I got the right date here. On, on May 15th. So almost a month and a half before. I was on May 15th, on May 1st, in April, in March, when they were discussing, when if there were going to be debates and when the debates were going to be. Eric and I both sat here and said, and because I sit across from Eric, you a lot of times you remember more the passion of the other person. I remember Eric going, "There's no way they can't allow it. There's no way they can allow Biden to do it. They cannot allow him to do it. They can't. They're much better not to do the debate." We were saying back then, put him in the basement. Now, that wasn't the best for America. We were putting on our political consultant hats and saying, if you're a political consultant, what advice would you give the Democrats? As we do quite often, we'll put on our Republican hats, our conservative, our pretend Democrat hats, as if we're, the political consultants. They're paying us to do it. The only thing is, Eric has priced us out. We've been offering since, I think, 2010, and it was reasonable at first. It was like we would do it for, we would become Democrat consultants. I think we started out at $1 million, and then Eric went up to $500 million. He said, if I'm going to prostitute myself, I want big money over it. But I can still remember the look on Eric's face when they scheduled those debates. And he just said, they can't do that. They can't do that. And I think if there was any surprise, it was he was as bad. And I would tell you, I think that for me, if my memory serves me correct in my old age, I was thinking, because right after it, everybody's like, he's got to go, and he's got to go. He can't do this anymore. I mean, immediately the criticism started, and I remember thinking to myself, oh, he was a little bit better than I thought he would be. Still not acceptable, but he was so bad in other previous things that my thought process was a little bit the opposite. So this whole thing that everybody was surprised and caught off guard, neither Eric and I ever bought. And I don't buy it now when Barry Weiss says it and Jake Tapper says it and Alex Thompson said it, because it's not true. There were many people like us that were saying months before that if you're the Democratic Party, you cannot let him debate against Trump. He can't do it. He does not have the cognitive abilities to do so. So I think, again, this is all the media still trying to CYA. Oh, we were all surprised. The Trump people were surprised. We weren't surprised. I got to make sure that I save that audio cut for Eric. I got to save that for Sunday night, Monday morning, because I bet you I'm not even going to bring up what my reaction was. Just see how he reacts to it on Monday. Hey, we got to have fun, right?
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And we are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He is Eric Harley. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. Why? Because you can listen whenever you want. We know we have a long show, and there are people that go to sleep with us and people that wake up with us. And so a lot of times we've had people fall asleep and said, I missed that last hour, or I missed the second hour or something like that. Normally I can listen to the first 2 hours. Well, you can listen to the second hour, the third hour, the fourth hour, the first hour, whenever you want. We record our entire show, and it becomes our podcast, and you can download it on our Red Eye Radio app. You can listen to it on our Red Eye Radio app. So there you go. All right. By the way, I did go to our staff, Ron and Alan, and said, you guys remember that, right? When Eric really went off on, what are you talking about? Biden can't do a debate. And they said, yes, because the volume levels went through the roof. So they both remembered it, because we were just like, the Democrats can't do it. They can't put him on stage. So when you had Barry Weiss there and Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson all, state, two of them wrote the book, state that, everybody was shocked. There were so many people that were shocked. The Trump people were shocked. Well, we have no association with Biden at all. We're in Texas, and we were screaming when they were talking about doing the debates. We were laughing. We said, he can't do it. You can't do this. Hide him. Put him in the basement. It's more imperative that he's in the basement now. Now, we were doing that as, putting on our political consultant hats again. But, yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to play that audio for Eric on Monday. Now, this is one more here from Jake Tapper. He was talking to Stephen A. Smith. And I thought I played this yesterday, but I'm not sure. But it's worth playing again, because it's very important as the Republicans now go to get some of these aides to testify. They want them. They're going to get everybody to testify, I think. I don't know if they'll go as high as Jill Biden, but they're going to go to the aides. I would think you have to go to Jill. Now, they're starting with the I guess, lower-level aides, which is probably a good thing, because if they take the fifth, then you offer them immunity from prosecution, because you want to get the people up top involved in this. That's what I hope is going on. But Jake Tapper tells Stephen A. Smith, none of the people that he talked to, none of them in the Biden circle, they told him what happened. None of them had any remorse at all. Here's part of this.
I will say, Stephen, and we never got somebody that said, we should never have done this. I can't believe we did it. In retrospect, it was a mistake. How arrogant we were. I mean, even, there was a top White House aide who acknowledged to me that this short 10, 15-minute interview I did with Joe Biden in October 2022, he would not have been capable of doing in October 2023. That admission was stunning to me, but it did not come with, and we really made a mistake. We shouldn't have run him. What an error. I can't believe we did it. It didn't come with that. It came with, but we thought that he was the only one that could beat Trump, blah, blah, blah. So I think that most were telling the truth as much as they had come to terms with it themselves. But I do wonder where they will be in a year, because, I heard from one of the people that one of the Democrats I interviewed for the book, who gave me one of the most shocking revelations. And I checked in, and how are you doing? And, they're upset, but they're not upset at us. They're not upset at the book. They're just upset that it happened. And now everybody's talking about it. So I still think that I think they're still working through a lot, don't you?
Yeah, there's gradations of honesty.
That's actually funny. All right, couple more audio cuts. The two next audio cuts are to me, one's the audio cut of the day, and the other's the audio cut of the week. This one's the audio cut of the day. It comes from Tom Homan. I believe this was yesterday, and I haven't played this yet, because I think that Homan, of all the people that are in the Trump administration, I think he's the best. That's why he's out there all the time. He covers his bases completely, and that's Tom Homan. Again, when it comes to, we brought you the CNN polling yesterday. I mean, just through the roof. the polling approval numbers of Trump and stopping illegal immigration. I mean, just through the roof. And I think the reason's Tom Homan. And, we have always said, whether it's Democrats, Republicans, presidents, whatever, on either side. But we've been critical of Republicans for not communicating effectively when they've got the slam dunk argument. Homan always communicates effectively. He is the best communicator, in my opinion, in all the Trump administration. I'm not going to include Trump in it because Trump talks about everything, where Homan is talking just specifically about the one topic. So all the people that are talking about one topic or of a particular position to defend and promote certain ideas and certain policies of the Trump administration, Homan is the best. And he talks about why he takes his job so seriously.
We got the most secure border in the history of this nation right now because of President Trump and his leadership. President Trump's a game changer. Like him or love him, no one's been more successful in securing the border than President Trump. Unprecedented success. But right now, we're seeking the millions of illegal aliens in this country illegally, many of them public safety threats that the Biden administration released in the country without proper vetting. Look, I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of angel moms and dads, which is, you had this discussion before. Why do I take this job so seriously? Why do I get emotional and lose my temper in front of Congress or on news stations? Because I'm sick and tired of meeting angel moms and dads who buried their children because they were killed by an illegal alien that shouldn't be here. Under the Biden administration, we have proven that they released public safety threats into the community, knowing they were a public safety threat. Secretary Mayorkas stood on TV how many times saying everybody's property vetted before they're released, and we found out that wasn't true. Men and women of the Border Patrol had one instruction: process quick, release quick, because there's no overcrowding here, there's nothing to see, and there's no border issue. So these people were processed so quickly they can't possibly run their criminal history. Plus we don't have access to criminal history of people from Venezuela and El Salvador and these other countries. So Secretary Mayorkas lied to the American people, the Biden administration lied to American people, and we're trying to fix the problem. There are a lot of public safety threats in this country. 600,000, an estimate right now, 600,000 illegal aliens with criminal convictions walking the streets of this country. That's why we need this big, beautiful bill passed, so we can put the resources out there in the streets to take these people off the streets and deport them to this country just as soon as we can.
Tom Homan, like I said, great communicator. And finally, our audio cut of the week actually comes, we played this on yesterday's show, but it's worth playing again. It was Frank Luntz, the pollster Frank Luntz, who was there at West Point when the president spoke, did the commencement speech at West Point. And this is great, the way he talks about what President Trump did and the West Point cadets. This is just pure greatness. Here we go.
And President Trump did something that no other president has done. First off, they only come every 4 years. So you got the Secretary of Defense, you have the head of the Joint Chiefs. There are people who come, Secretary of, I believe Secretary of State also shows up. So the president only comes once every 4 years. And President Trump wanted to do this. And of course, West Point will welcome the president if the president wants to come. But he did something no president had ever done, which is he recognized cadets from the podium for their exceptional and extraordinary leadership, for their truly almost unimaginable capability to get things done, both intellectually, militarily, and physically. And what I enjoyed most is that he invited them to come up to the podium and say a few words as the ultimate recognition of what they'd achieved and what they were about to do. And that's never been done before. And the cadets absolutely loved it because it said that they matter. West Point as an academy produces the finest young men and women in the country. They do it through training. They do it through character. They do it through an educational background that is so broad and so comprehensive. And to recognize those cadets personally for their achievements was really special, and the cadets loved it.
He did it, of course, in his own way. You heard the remark about trophy wives, drag shows, talking about the former president wearing a hat. None of that was included in your analysis as someone who was there, Frank, and that's why we wanted to bring you on, to have a sense of not only how it went over for people who were there, the cadets and their families, but also to get a sense of how political this actually was and how positive or optimistic it may or may not have felt while we were there. Are we paying attention to all the wrong things?
Well, remember that cadets cannot discuss, they can discuss, but they cannot exhibit partisan behavior, and they don't. And what's amazing about these young men and women is that unlike Harvard, and I get yelled at for doing this, but I'm doing it anyway, unlike the other universities who stage protests, unlike the attempts of other students to disrupt and prevent the exchange of ideas, at West Point, there is an attitude of respect, a commitment to decency and civility, and in the end, they want to hear every opinion of every individual, and they do not wish to engage in partisan politics. So that what the president says, they saw as entertaining, they saw as being enlightening, but they don't come to a conclusion because they're there to learn. They're not performers. They're not about showing their politics and their partisanship. They're there to represent the academy, and most importantly, to defend the Constitution. And that's the thing I wish that your listeners really understood. A cadet doesn't take an oath to the president, doesn't take an oath to the country even. They take an oath to uphold the Constitution, and that's what makes this so special. And that's why I was so happy that it was the president, not just the Secretary of Defense, or not just the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, that the president wanted to be there to say thank you to the cadets from a grateful nation. And to me, that's what we should be focused on.
Frank Luntz, and that was on Bloomberg. You can tell they wanted, they brought him on to hit the political part of it. And Frank Luntz, that wasn't the impression he wanted to give it all, which, again, and you know, Frank Luntz has gone after the president before, but just said what a wonderful performance or what a wonderful speech it was, and how gracious he was to the cadets to actually invite them to come up, calling out people that did great things and have them come up and say a couple of words. And he didn't take the bait of the Bloomberg anchor there, which is pretty cool in itself. He wanted to set the moment and really compliment how the president handled that situation and how the cadets responded. The only other nitpick I would have is when he said that the cadets don't take a loyalty to the country, they take a loyalty to the Constitution. It's the same thing. No, the Constitution is the country. What makes the country? The Constitution. So, but that was pretty good. 866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. Eric will be back with me Sunday night, Monday morning, which would be great. So much to talk about. We'll end the show the way that we began the show, with these two headlines. The two headlines that really caught my eye and made me laugh. Both from Fox News. This headline: Anthony Weiner discusses sexting scandal while attempting political comeback and says, "Women are crazy about me." He was asked about being in politics and whether women are attracted to him because of that. He said, "Oh, for sure. My God, they're crazy about me. Women are crazy about me." Remember, we're talking Anthony Weiner. I don't think so. And the other headline that got me: Riley Gaines challenges ex-ESPN host Keith Olbermann to a swimming race after he says she was a worse swimmer then she is a MAGA stooge. I want that race to happen. I really want that race to happen. Olbermann, my God. What? He just sit around all day. Nobody will hire him anymore. Just sits around all day, grumbling, angry at the world. And that's one angry dude, which, by the way, he picks. Not only is he wrong on all of his arguments, he picks the wrong arguments. Have a great weekend.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.